Good evening and welcome to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm meteorologist Ron Childers. We're on YouTube. We are on the Action News 5 app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere right now. And I think we're on the news app. Are we on the weather app, Lydian?
I don't think we're actually on the weather app. We're on our news app.
Lydian is with me right now. Lydian Coombs. I couldn't do this without her, okay?
I'm going to pop in again today since I did it
Good
yesterday.
to see you. Good to thank you for the assist on this. But we're here tonight to talk about what's coming our way. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Or did I point the wrong way? I think I did. And it's different. I'm not at a chroma key screen right now. I've got actual monitors behind me, but we're here tonight to do a couple of things. Let's talk about what's coming our way for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I've got some new information to share. And really, I think it's promising and looking pretty good. I'm optimistic about what we've got coming our way overall. And we're going to answer your questions. Now, you got to submit those questions via Facebook. So if you're watching on the Action News 5 page on Facebook, just enter your comments there, and Lydian is monitoring those and she'll pass them along as we get them. But I do want to just give you an overview of what's coming our way. So we'll spend the next few minutes talking about that. We'll answer any questions, but I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. It is still too early to talk about specific amounts. We're really just now honing in on precipitation types. A lot going on with this system. Hurricane hunters are sending out a plane to basically take a look at the core of this storm as it's developing off the Baja Peninsula. So we're looking forward to getting the information from that. That's going to give us a better idea of the trajectory of the low pressure center that's driving all of this. And we'll share the new data that we're getting today. A lot of people, I saw some early morning comments, people were freaking out about the European forecast model, looking icier and thinking this is going to be our next ice storm 94. It's not. Let me just go ahead and put that to rest right now. This storm does not, it has some of the characteristics. It has the available moisture, but I don't think we're going to see just hours of liquid precipitation with this. I think the vast majority of what falls is going to be in the form of snow and sleet. There is an area that I am watching closely, have a little bit of concern for the potential for an ice storm. And then there's an area in the Mid-South that I think is going to be dealing with a big wet snow. So let's get right to it, shall we? Again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, first alert weather days. We are tracking that major winter storm, but now new data showing this moving in a little later and exiting a little sooner. That's good news because that's going to take a bite out of precipitation potential or amounts that we'll be dealing with overall. However, National Weather Service already on it. Friday at noon, a winter storm watch will go into effect and it will remain until 6 p.m. Sunday. Now, I think that's likely going to be upgraded to a winter storm warning, but right now, just know, beginning at noon Friday, a winter storm watch remains through Sunday, 6 p.m. A watch, of course, meaning that conditions are favorable for winter weather to come into the area. Once the precipitation starts falling, that's when I think we're going to see it upgraded to a warning when it's actually occurring. So let's take a look at things, shall we? I've got some interesting data to show you. This is a European forecast model, and basically I want to help to take a little bit of a bite out of what you may have seen on social media or in other areas or wherever. So let's get right to it. I think Friday for the majority of the day is going to be dry. I also think we're going to be above freezing for much of the day. It will be in the 30s. It is going to be cold and it will be overcast. But 4 p.m. Friday right now on the European model and most models looking dry. It's as we get into Friday evening, right around 10, 11 o'clock. I think we're going to see this really start to make a push into the area. Now, a couple of forecast models bringing it in by about 9, 10 o'clock. European lagging behind by a couple of hours, but still with a good handle on what's coming our way. Now, notice right there around Little Rock, I think they're going to see a wintry mix ahead of the Memphis Mid-South area. North Central Arkansas will likely be dealing with a big snow coming on through. Then as we get into the early morning hours, through the overnight hours, Friday into early Saturday morning, along and south of the 40 corridor, is where we're likely to see a greater probability for a wintry mix of sleet and snow primarily. The areas that you see in white, light blue, I think that's where we're going to find snow from right around Poinsett County through Mississippi County, even around Lauderdale, Dyer County. That's not to say there won't be snow from Covington south to Hernando, but I think we're going to see a better chance of all snow in those areas you see in blue. It's when we go from Covington south, that's when we start to see a little sleet mixing in. Now here's the thing about sleet and the sleet-snow combination. That could take a big bite out of the overall total. All right, so forecast models reading in, let's say, 1/10 of an inch of sleet compared to 1/10 of an inch of snow. 1/10 of an inch of sleet would hit the ground as just that, 1/10 of an inch, because it's little frozen ice pellets that will fall from the sky, hit the ground, and wherever they land, that's where they stay. But 1/10 of an inch of liquid precipitation falling in the form of snow could accumulate to an inch of snow. So we're looking at this on a 10-to-1 ratio, as we call it, and that's the ratio we're using in general. It's kind of a safe bet. As we get a little closer, we'll fine-tune that. But a snow-sleet mix would be a little better situation for us, generally speaking, in terms of accumulation, because you get about 2/10 of precipitation, with 1/10 as sleet, another 1/10 as liquid to snow. That would only be like 1 inch and 1/10 of snow sleet. I know it sounds complicated, and that's the thing about this. It's very complicated, but a snow sleet situation would actually be a little better in regard to overall accumulation, and much better than freezing rain. Now, let's go from 8 o'clock Saturday morning until about 3, 4 in the afternoon. I think we're going to still see that wintry mix of rain, sleet, or of sleet and snow. I don't think we're going to see any liquid precipitation in there, but we are going to be keeping a close eye from Corinth down to Oxford. Little better chance of freezing rain and sleet in that area. But for Memphis Metro, much of the Mid-South, and especially areas north, I think it's going to be primarily a snow-sleet mix. But the thing about it is, it's going to continue for several hours. And notice that area of green from Nashville into northern Alabama, northeastern Mississippi. That's where we could be dealing with freezing rain. That is liquid precipitation that falls at the surface with temperatures at or below the freezing mark, and it basically just adheres to everything it touches. Whereas sleet, as that's falling from the sky, and to give you an idea of how that works, it all starts as ice crystals. It hits a little warm layer, melts, and then encounters that colder air at the surface, refreezes, but is a little pellet. Freezing rain is liquid precipitation from the top of its origin all the way to the surface. That creates big problems because it sticks to everything. Tree limbs, power lines, you name it. And the weight of that can bring down trees and power lines and cause big problems. That's what we had in '94. But sleet pellets, just that. It falls in the form of little ice pellets. Whatever it hits, it bounces off of and then lands on the ground. But a little better situation. Now we'll go from 10:30 Saturday night, and let's roll forward to Sunday morning. That precipitation is going to continue, but then that colder air is really going to start to come into play. The focus for freezing rain should shift to the east into Alabama, middle and east Tennessee, with a wintry mix mainly from Jackson on through Memphis down to northern Mississippi, but again primarily in the form of sleet and snow. And then from 8 Sunday morning to about midday, transitions to all snow and then ends. So with a later start date and an earlier exit time, that means less accumulation overall. So we're going to be watching it closely. Still a lot of factors in play. But let's talk about the availability of liquids. Some of you may have an app that is not the First Alert weather app, all right, that's been showing 30 inches of snow, or it may be showing a minimal amount of snow. Well, what I'm showing you here is the available liquid. In other words, if it all fell in liquid form, this is how much liquid or rain it would be. Now, if it was an ice storm, look at that. 2.2 inches of available liquid from the European forecast model. That would be a crippling ice storm, even from Dyersburg all the way down to Oxford. But that's not going to be the case. This is how much liquid will be there, but I think most of it is going to reach the surface in a frozen form, whether it be in the form of ice crystals or sleet pellets. So that's good. But that also accounts for some of the information you're seeing on your app. It can't determine where the snow is. It's just looking at the available amount of moisture and then giving that a 10-to-1 ratio and saying, okay, here's how much snow you're going to get. So, for instance, back to Dyersburg, it's showing 1.7 inches of liquid. That would equate to about 17 inches of snow. For Memphis, it shows 2.2 inches of available liquid. That would equate to about 22 inches of snow. That's not going to happen. And really, right now, I'm thinking really closer to 6 to 8 inches total overall, but even that is just a guess based on just years of doing this and what I'm seeing so far. But it's still a little too early to put perspective to that or go for specific amounts. But this is the European forecast model. Now the GFS forecast model, the American forecast model, also in that same ballpark, showing precipitation potential or liquid availability right around 1.3 to right around 2. So overall, on average, we are looking at about 2 inches of available liquid moisture to produce what is coming through the Action News 5 coverage area. So with that in mind, what we are seeing, combining that with temperatures, here's what we think we're going to be dealing with. Areas along and north of I-40 are going to be more likely to get snow, and it could be a wet snow, especially around Dyersburg, Blytheville. I don't think we're going to see 20 inches of snow, but look, it wouldn't surprise me if it was all snow. If all that precipitation fell in the form of snow, it could be close to 12 to 15 inches of snowfall overall. But given the fact that we're going to see south of that line a wintry mix of basically snow and sleet, that's going to take a big bite out of that overall accumulation or amount of frozen precip that we see at the surface. But my main concern is still along that 278 corridor from Clarksdale through Oxford, even up to Corinth. We could see all ice. Now, I don't think at this time we're looking at all liquid falling on a frozen surface. I think those areas may be more susceptible to see a mix of freezing rain and sleet. Still not good, but it could help to take a little bit of the sleet mixing in could take a little bit of a bite out of the ice accumulation that may develop on power lines, trees, branches, things like that. So again, a lot of uncertainty, but that's how much this is what we're looking at as far as the potential for what the form will be itself. So in tracking the winter weather, here's what we know. The precipitation is going to move in later than earlier projections. Good news. And it moves out a little sooner than earlier projections. Now, a wintry mix is likely for most areas. All right? That's primarily sleet and snow. But there is a better chance of all snow in our northern counties and a better chance of all ice in our southern counties. So mainly along that 278 corridor from, let's say, Coahoma County east to Lee County, the Tupelo area. That puts Oxford, Batesville in the mix, Quitman County in there as well. But it is still too early to determine specific amounts. In other words, and that's the question I've been getting all day. My phone's blowing up, our emails are blowing up. How much are we going to get? How much are we going to get? I can't tell you that. And Patrick came in, spent a long day at the office today, and he and I were having, Patrick Ellis and I were having a conversation. It is very likely that we won't get a firm handle on this until we get forecast data Friday morning, the 12Z data as we call it. So that will come in right around 6 a.m. on Friday, and I think we'll head into the weekend with a very firm handle on what's coming. But right now, I'm pretty confident that the majority of the Mid-South is going to be dealing with a mix of sleet and snow, the better chance for icy conditions, freezing rain and sleet, mainly in our southern counties. I will also say if you're down around I'd say around Greenville, Greenwood, south to Jackson, that area could see a catastrophic ice storm. There could be close to an inch, inch and a half of freezing rain that occurs throughout the weekend. So that could create some major problems there. But I think we're on the good side of this, at least in regard to the Action News 5 coverage area. But there are still some areas or southern counties a little iffy right now. We're going to be watching closely. So that's what we know so far. So that's not all we've got to deal with. We're going to fall below freezing Friday night because the bitter cold is also a huge factor in all of this. And we're going to see that diving south from Canada. We fall below freezing. That white line you see on the map, that's the 32-degree line. We'll be below freezing Friday night, all day Saturday, Saturday night, all day Sunday, Sunday night, all day Monday, and we won't get above freezing for many areas until Tuesday. And only briefly at that, because I expect us to be back in the low 20s Tuesday night. So we may see some melting with the sunshine on Monday, Tuesday, but even that has the potential or will refreeze, and we could be dealing with black ice well into next week and icy conditions. So here's a look at the first alert forecast. Thursday is going to be your day to prep. It's going to be partly cloudy. We're going to hit a high of 50. I think it's going to be a nice day. By the way, I think we're going to get some fog in here tonight. So if you're going to be out and about, just use caution because it could get a little thick in some areas. But Thursday, I want you to prep, make sure your car is ready for what's coming our way, make sure you're home. If you have outdoor pets, make sure they are prepared for this. Make sure they have bedding, sturdy shelter, warm bedding. You're going to need to check their water frequently because it's just going to stay frozen for several days. And I encourage you to bring your pets in. If you can, please do. We've got a couple of stray cats that live around our house, and my wife, we've got shelter for them already set up. So we're good to go there. Just take care of the pets, all right? And if your kids are going to be out and about playing in it this weekend, everybody's going to need to bundle up. Hats, coats, gloves, and limit your time outside because I do think it's going to be kind of blustery. And look, you could suffer from the effects of the cold weather very quickly if you don't take it seriously. So that's a little bit of an overview of what we're working with right now. Again, still too soon for specific amounts, but I am fairly confident that most of the Mid-South, Friday night through the weekend, is going to deal with a mix of sleet and snow. Good news there. Now, let's answer your questions. Lydia, you've been keeping an eye on it. What do we got?
I'm getting a lot of questions about what to expect with traffic.
Traffic is going to be crazy. I do believe Friday night is going to be okay. I think schools will be okay Friday. I think getting to and from work Friday, no problems. I encourage you to stay home Saturday. If you do not have to be out Saturday, stay home, all right? Because the roads are not going to be a place for anybody to be on. We've been talking about that here because, look, we're going to have to be here, and we're already looking at how we're going to get into work, get home from work, or what our contingency plan is going to be for getting around. And look, if you're not able to get around, your delivery drivers aren't going to be able to get around either. So keep that in mind for the pizza delivery people or the DoorDash people or what have you. It's going to be very, very difficult for them as well. So hopefully everybody is stocked up, ready to go, and just stay at home, stay inside through the weekend, and we'll likely have to stay indoors for the beginning of next week as well. So with the impacts of that being around, it could extend well into next week. That's why we've highlighted Monday and Tuesday on the 10-day forecast, you see, because we think travel impacts are going to be significant, and they could even extend into Wednesday. I've got a school visit scheduled for Wednesday down in Holly Springs. I don't think I'm going to be able to get there just based on what we're looking at. But again, we're going to play it by ear. Still a week to go. We'll see how that works out. But it is going to be in the 30s throughout next week. So whatever falls this weekend, it's going to stick around. Roads are not going to be fun. What else you got?
First, Amber says it's already snowing in Savannah, according to her.
Were there some snowflakes there today? You know what? There were, and I saw that on the First Alert Doppler radar. It's very light right now. So yeah, there is a little colder air there in and around Savannah, but there's no accumulation from that. And there may be a couple of stray showers tonight, by the way, or tomorrow night, excuse me, in our southern counties. So parts of northern Mississippi could see some brief showers that have a little bit of sleet, maybe even a few snowflakes mixed in. But the real accumulation is going to begin. The accumulating snowfall and the bulk of the precipitation is going to move in late Friday, continue through Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday.
Do you know what the wind chill is going to be for Friday?
I think wind chills are likely, during the day, wind chills are going to be in the lower range of the 20s. It's over the weekend, we're going to see single-digit wind chills and likely find wind chills below zero Saturday night and into Sunday morning, and likely again Sunday night. Although I think winds are going to diminish a little bit. But look, we're going with a low Sunday night of 10 degrees, and I may be too warm on that. I think the National Weather Service was going with 5 degrees. I'm leaning toward 10 simply because we will have that insulation layer of the frozen precip. It's going to be a cloudy night, I think, for the most part. So I'm going with a low of 10, but single digits, wind chills could be below zero. Feel like they're below zero. And the wind chill is just that. It's what the air feels like on exposed skin. So that's why it is so important that if you are going to be out, you bundle up. Hat, coat, scarves, gloves.
Our Jacob is in the chat. He wants to know.
Jacob is our digital manager. He's over all the digital stuff. He's got like VIP access to Ron Childers and my cell phone number. Thank you for not calling my cell phone, Jacob, because everybody else is.
He said, Mr. Ron, will this be good conditions for me to build a snowman?
Yes, I do believe so. I think even with the sleet mixing in, I think we're going to see snowmen, snow people, snow women all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun. I do think the farther north you go, though, more likely to get a big wet snow. So overall, yeah, snowmen will be built. And there will be sledding to be done as well. We had a great story today on Action News 5. I think it was at 3. Kids were sledding in an area that had already gotten a significant amount of snow. They had sleds. And I commented after that, I said, here in the Mid-South, we use trash can lids and cardboard boxes for our sleds. So I think we'll see a lot of those over the weekend and even for the beginning of next week.
I'm seeing questions about power outages and airports. Can you tell them where they can find more information from where we did speak to MLGW and we did speak to airport officials?
As a matter of fact, on our website, we've got Ursula Madden did a great interview today. You may recall Ursula was the main anchor here for a number of years at Action News 5. She is now head of communications for MLGW. They've been working on this all week long. I don't think power outages are going to be an issue in the Memphis metro. I'm more concerned about power outages around Clarksdale to Oxford, maybe even into Alcorn County. I think northern Mississippi, even around Holly Springs, and Holly Springs has been having power issues even prior to all this beginning, but there could be power outages more likely into parts of North Mississippi. So those are areas that you need to prepare. You need to make sure that you have ways to heat your home, whether that be a fireplace, wood-burning stove, what have you. Break out your generators, make sure they're working, and get them gassed up and ready to go in the event of power outages there. But I think the greater probability for power outages will come in our southern counties. I'm not overly concerned with power outages in and around the Memphis metro. Now, one caveat, If this does, for whatever reason, transition to a freezing rain event around the Memphis metro, then all bets are off. But right now, I'm pretty confident that we'll keep our power on here. And I know the fine folks at MLGW are doing a great job in getting ahead of this as well. And Ursula, if you're watching, I really would like one of those vests. Those are really cool. You seen the MLGW vests? They're awesome. All right, what else you got? A shameless
When
bag.
will the snow melt? If there is snow.
It's going to take a while, simply because. And Lydian, pull the 10-day up again. Let's take a look at this full, because there it is. Look at this. Monday we're only going to hit 26. We'll have some sunshine. You'll get a little melting on this on the top layer, but that's going to create ice. That is just going to create a layer of ice on top of this. We fall to 12 Monday night, no melting there. Some sunshine again Tuesday, little bit of minimal melting, but we're at 22 Tuesday night. And then Wednesday we're back to 36, so we'll see minimal daytime melting. But at night, overnight lows are still going to be in the lower range of the 20s for next week. Everything that does melt during the day is going to freeze hard at night. I think bridges and overpasses are going to be a big issue through the entirety of next week. And I also think black ice is going to be a big issue as well.
That just about covers it.
All right, good deal. Well, look, we're going to do this again tomorrow night, right around 7:30-ish. I was a little late getting going tonight. Got a lot working here, but we'll be back on this digital desk, same time, same platform. So join us again. This is where we're able to answer your questions. I'm going to have much more information to share. We'll be able to hone in on potential amounts, precipitation amounts, and hopefully have a little better idea of where that freezing rain, wintry mixed line is going to be, and a better look at where the potential heavier snow will fall as well. So from the Action News 5 digital desk, I'm meteorologist Ron Childers, along with Lydian Coombs, helping me out in all of this. Thank you for watching tonight. And look, if you've got questions, drop them in on the comments. I'll take a look later tonight and see if I can answer them for you. In the meantime, have a great night.